Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be learning how to connect our Django application to a PostgresSQL database. Our PostgresSQL database is going to be hosted on Heroku.com. So with that said, let's get into it. This is going to be one of the first steps that we're going to be doing to actually deploy our API into a production-ready environment. And the first step in this process is going to be linking our API to a production-grade database. So with that said, let's get into it. So just as a side note, Heroku is totally free, so any of the steps that I'm going to be performing here do not require you to enter any kind of financial information. So with that said, let's get going. So to start off, what I'd like you to do is that I'd like you to go to Heroku.com, register, and then log in. Once you're logged in, you're going to be presented with this start screen where you're going to have the option to create a new app. If you have a bunch of apps already existing, then there might be an option somewhere which says create new app. So you're going to click on create new app. And once you've clicked on it, the next thing you're going to do is that you're going to give your app a name. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to name my app Taskly App Django API. And hopefully that name isn't taken. As you can see, it's available. And then I'm going to select the region where I want my app to be hosted. I'm going to select the United States. And then from there, I'm going to click on Create App. This is going to take some time. And once that is done, you're going to see that the app is created. So the next thing that we're going to do now is that we're going to, for now, not deploy anything to our actual application, but we're going to be adding an add-on to our actual app, which is going to be the PostgresSQL database. So add-ons in Heroku just mean additional features that you would like your app to have access to. In our case, an additional feature that we want from Heroku, apart from it serving our Django application, is a database where we can save the data that gets transmitted to our API. And for that, what we can do is that we can click on Overview once we're inside of our application, and then we can click on Configure Add-ons. And once we're there, what we can do is that we can go to the add-ons search bar, and here we can actually type in what add-on we need. So in our case, the add-on we need is called Postgres, and it's called Heroku Postgres. So just type in Post and you should see Heroku Postgres pops up. So I'm going to click on it, and you're going to see that a pop-up is going to appear, which is going to ask me to select a plan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select just the basic Hobby Dev plan, which is free. And if you want a premium plan, you can go through, read about what all of the other plans offer. But for the purposes of this course and the way the actual implementation works, regardless of whatever plan you take, everything's going to be the same from this point onward. So I'm going to select Hobby Dev, and then I'm going to click on Submit Order Form. And once this is done, we can click on our Overview tab again, and you're going to see that a new database has been provisioned for us. So now that we have the new database and it's been provisioned for us, what we can do is that we can actually click on this. And I'm talking about clicking on this hyperlink URL, and it's going to take us to this other website where we can see information for our database. Keep in mind that since this is a free database, the row count for this database is going to be limited to 10,000 rows. If you exceed that limit, then any new data that you try to add is not going to be possible. However, if you upgrade to a paid plan, then this row limit is going to be removed. So with this done, what we're going to do is that we're going to click on Settings, and from there, we are going to click on View Credentials for our database. And I'm just going to remove this app after we're done, so these credentials are not going to work. But once we have these credentials in front of us, the Heroku side of the things are done, and now we're going to go to our Django application and actually fix stuff there. So to start off, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be going to our source folder. And from there, what we're going to do is that we're going to be going to our settings.py file. And inside of our settings.py file, we're going to be browsing down to the databases list, and here we're going to be replacing the default definition for the database that we're using. So instead of using the default database which Django gives us, which is a SQLite database, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be using a Postgres database. And to do that, the first thing that we need to do is that we have to replace the definition here for the default database. So to get started, first we're going to replace the engine. The engine is now going to change from the actual SQLite database, and now we're going to do Django .db backends and then from there we're going to do Postgres SQL underscore and then psychopg2. So django.db.backends.postgresSQL _ psychopg2. And this is going to let Django know which type of database do we expect it to be interacting with. Once we have this, the next thing that we need to do is that we have to define the name for our database. So the name for our database we can get from our actual Heroku database credentials. And as you can see, the name for my database is this. So I'm going to copy it, I'm going to paste it in. Once this is done, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to be defining the user for database. So that's going to be user key. And then the user for database is going to be this user. Following that, what we have to do is that we have to define the password as well. So password, and then that is going to be equal to this password. And then we're going to paste it in. Once we have the password in, the next thing we're going to be doing is that we're going to be finding the host. So the host is going to be the server where our database is located, and that is going to be this. Since Heroku runs on the AWS architecture, that's why we have a host that points to an AWS. And finally, once we have this, the last thing that we're going to be doing is that we're going to be defining the port. And the port in our case is going to be 5432. So once this is done, we are all set with the actual implementation part of actually defining the settings inside of our Django application. But for now, if I run the app, and I'm just going to show you, I do run server, you're going to see that our app is just going to crash. I mean, I'll give it some time to actually load up for the first time. And we have an error, and the error is because I've added these two double S's here, so you have to remove one of the S here. It's like this, and then if I do command save, you're going to see that our app is going to reload, but it's still going to crash because it says that it has an error loading the psychopg2 module. So we have to install that. So to do that, it's fairly easy. All we have to do is that we have to install a Django package, which is going to allow us the ability to actually use psychopg2. And to do that, we'll do pip and then install, and then we're going to do psychopg2. And then we can click enter, and hopefully this package is installed. And it's going to take some time to actually build the VL for psychopg2, so I'm going to wait for this to complete, and once it's completed, I'm going to resume this video. Okay, so once that the psychopg2 module is installed, we can do clear again, and this time we can try to run our server by doing manage.py run server, and hopefully our server should actually spin up. And now once we restart our server, you're going to see that it gives us an error saying that background tasks, it is unable to find any of them. And the reason for this is because we haven't applied the necessary migrations for background tasks. So to fix this, and this is only going to be a problem if you implemented background tasks, is that you're going to go to the background jobs app just for now. And from there, you're going to click on the actual tasks.py file. And once you are at the task.py file, what you're going to do is that you're going to comment out all of the stuff that's inside of here. So once everything is commented, you can do command save, and you can try to run the server again. And hopefully this time the server should spin up without an issue. So just waiting for the server to load up, and it's performing checks. And as you can see, the server loaded up, and it's saying that you have 37 unapplied migrations. So this means that our Django API can now actually talk with the actual PostgresSQL database, and it's not giving us an error, and it's working. So now all we have to do is that we have to apply the migrations. The way you apply the migrations is the same. You do /manage.py, and then you do first make migrations, just to make sure that there are no migrations that have not been made yet. And once that is done, then you can do manage.py, and then you can click on migrate. And this time the migrations are going to take some time. So I'm going to pause this video here, and once the migrations are all applied, then I'm going to continue. Okay, so as you can see, the migrations are all applied, and now if I do /manage.py run server, and I click enter, you're going to see that our server is going to spin up. And now if I go to the actual endpoint, you're going to see that we can actually see all of the API route, but we don't have any users. So that's all good. to test that our implementation works, I'm just going to go to the admin panel. Oh, and I have to add a /, and with this, I'm going to realize that I don't have a user right now to log in. And the reason for that is because we've linked our API to a new database, hence we've lost all of the previous data that existed inside of our db.sqlite 3 database. So I have to create a new user. To create the new super user for our actual Django application, I'm going to do manage.py create super user. And then I'm going to wait for Django to actually prompt me to give the username. I'm going to leave the username as Hussein. For the email address, I'll just do support@perneur.com. Password, just the dummy password that we've been using. Test123. And once the super user is created, we can again start by running our server. And then once the server is up, we can just send a request by doing Hussein as the username and then password test123. And you can see that we can log in to the Django admin panel. So now the last thing we're going to be doing is that we're going to be firstly deleting our db SQLite 3 file. So I'm just going to delete it. And once that is done, then I'm going to go to our task.py file inside of our background jobs app, and I'm going to uncomment all of the code that we had there. And then with this, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to exit out our API, and I'm going to do manage.py make migrations to now make the migrations necessary for our actual background tasks. And then just go through this as a good measure to make sure that we didn't miss anything. Oh, and I had to do /manage.py migrate. I misspelled it. Hopefully it all goes through, and it's good if it says now migrations to apply as well. But now if I do run server, the new job should hopefully load up into our server. And if I go back to our admin panel and then I click on actual tasks, you're going to see that our task now appears, which is calculate house stats. So with this, we've successfully linked up our Django API to a PostgresSQL database that's being hosted on Heroku, and specifically on an Amazon AWS server. So with that, I'm going to end this video here, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video where we're going to be working towards actually pushing our API to Heroku. Thank you.